Thanks for joining the HomeMatters podcast with Eric and Gena Boggs, where they lead authentic, raw discussions about marriage, family life, kids, intimacy, and sex from a biblical perspective. Now here's your host, Eric and Gena Boggs.
Well, hello. Welcome to HomeMatters.
That's right. It is HomeMatters
Good
Podcast
morning.
Day.
Good afternoon or good evening, right?
We are
Whenever
so
you're
glad
listening.
you joined us. That's right. Whenever, wherever.
It's a Wednesday, hopefully. Maybe you
That's right.
started
Maybe
out on a
riding
Wednesday.
down the road in the
These
car.
come out on Wednesday mornings and like 5 a.m. So maybe you're up early and exercising or just getting ready. You're able to spend a little time with us.
That's what I need to do
Talking
when I
about
first get up
home
in the
and
morning.
family.
I need to exercise. Lord help me.
It's not easy to do. I exercised this morning, and it's not easy to do. So
That's right. So what are we talking about today?
we're going to
HomeMatters
talk about we're talking about building your life, building your marriage, right?
Right.
Is that okay?
Building your life, your marriage, and building. Here it is on a positive foundation, right?
Building on a good foundation,
A good foundation,
Yep.
a strong foundation.
solid foundation.
That's right.
And sometimes it's just a matter of focus and your attentiveness and what you really spend your time and energy on. And
Yeah, what you spend your time, your energy, and we're going to talk about this some, what you spend your thoughts on. Because I think we have to be very intentional, right,
Yeah.
about our thoughts. So we're going to hit that a little bit. But with our foundation, I would just ask, maybe what is your foundation? What are you building your, not just your life on, your family, your marriage, your relationships? What's that look like?
I mean, when we talk about marriage, you're talking about relationship either way. So when you look at that again, Jesus taught us, we build our life on what we believe.
That's right.
And he said in Matthew 7, he said, a man who builds his house on what he says is like building a house on the rock. And I think that's the title of a book there, Jimmy Evans, Built on the Rock. And
It's
I
like
think that
Marriage on the
book's
Rock.
about
That's a good one. If you haven't read it, you need to grab that one.
about
It's
building
good.
on the foundations.
That's right.
And with that, again, I think that we look at our own life, our relationship, our marriages, and making sure that we're spending time on what we need to. And that you try to find in your marriage, in your relationship, that you find the things that are good.
That's right. Look for the good, right?
Yeah, look for strengths.
I think we'd say the bad or maybe the weaknesses, those kind of seem to stand out sometimes more so. But it's important that we take time to focus and look for, what's good, what's right, what's
Yeah.
positive.
I think it's easy for anybody, though, to look at what's wrong. And,
Absolutely.
if you're only looking at what's wrong, a lot of people spend their time. I think this is true in marriage. I think a lot of couples spend a lot of their times just time and energy trying to just fix what's wrong. And I'm not saying that you can't try to correct things. I don't think that's what we're saying. I think you can do that, but if all of your energy is going in all the time focusing on what's wrong or what's broken or what's not right, then where does that leave the good stuff? Do we spend enough time really looking at what's good about our marriage, the strengths about our marriage?
Well, I think we lose sight of those in the midst of the negative and the bad. But I think what Eric's saying is if we'd spend more time focusing on those strengths and making them stronger,
Yeah,
instead of maybe trying
I
to,
think that's true in life.
not that we don't try to work on our weaknesses and make them better, as you said, but spend more time maybe making the strengths stronger
Yeah.
instead of accentuating or bringing so much focus to the negative.
Yeah, I know that we're brought up in different, we talk about family of origin sometime, your family of origin, what you're brought up with.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
in
the atmosphere, the environment that you're brought up in, that can make
That's
a difference in what you, kind of your outlook or your focus, what you spend your time on.
It's easy for a home, and hopefully this is not your home, but I think it's easy for a home to just take on a negative connotation or just
negative aura,
aura,
energy.
Yeah, negative energy.
Yeah, atmosphere, whatever word you want to use, environment.
That everything's, the old saying, the cup's always half empty. We're always looking for the bad. We're looking for the next mess up. We're looking for the next disappointment.
And we carry that into the relationship. And then then we wonder why we're not thriving, why we're not enjoying marriage, why we're not having having a joyful type journey.
Fun journey.
Yeah, and again, it's not always about being happy, right? You don't always have to be happy.
No.
But it shouldn't be a weight or a drag all the time. Your marriage relationship, and all we're saying is sometimes you have to kind of break the cycle.
Yeah.
Especially if you're.
That's that tension.
Yeah.
I think, our homes, we've said it a lot, even in this time, that it should be a place we look forward to going to. Should be a place where there's peace.
Yeah.
And when there's that tension all the time that you're talking about, just that negativity.
I think though, if you look at upbringing, again, just looking at life as we know it, I think that if our upbringing's it's kind of one that most everybody around us kind of looks for they look at everything glass half empty instead of they're more negative than positive. Yeah. I think that can have a couple of different results. I think that can nurture that life that somebody just picks up and takes, or it can kind of create a rebound, if you will, where it just kind of bounces in the other direction.
Like I grew up in this. This is not what.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Is that what you mean?
We've seen that with addiction. There are people that grow up in a home that's filled with addiction, and they're the furthest thing from that.
Yeah.
Again, some people just adapt to that or think, well, that's just my lot in life, and they just take on the same cycles, the same addictions.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're saying. Even you say, well, you're talking about something. No, we're not. You're thinking, your thought life can be an addiction, and it can be something that you're just stuck in a cycle, and you don't realize why things are dragging your relationship, your marriage down, or even your home environment. And if you look at it, it's just something that you've just taken as your mode of operation.
Yeah, you get stuck in those ruts.
Yeah.
And, we could go into a lot with that.
It's even just kind of your norm.
The ruts, that we create in our brain. That's a whole other podcast we could talk about. But you get those habits of thinking. Yeah. Those ruts we form, and we just immediately revert to that no matter what's happening, just that negative thought life.
We think we're called to be skeptics, or we think
cynical.
I know people that think they're just called to be skeptical of everybody.
It's about 14
and let's be honest, again, you may be in a marriage that has had some bad experience, and out of that you've derived that kind of skeptic, distrust, cynical, everything's bad.
And that's under that. We can understand that, right? When it seems that's all you got,
right?
For maybe decade, weeks, months, whatever. It's understandable, but I think it's a very intentional thing that we have to do. And I think the scripture's clear in that we can have control over what we set our mind on and what we think on.
Yeah, we talk.
So it's a very intentional thing. But even if we have, you could say, all the reason in the world, right, to think the negative or to expect the negative, we have to be intentional.
And again, I think life's experience sometime, and again, you may have to do a do-over or whatever in your marriage. You may be, years in, and it's just this environment's been created in your relationship and in your romance where it's kind of dead in the water, and you look at it and honestly, all you see is what's wrong. Like we say, we can really focus on that.
That's right.
And because of that, it just becomes it becomes like your second nature. And I know people that think, well, I'm just negative by my nature. I'm just a skeptic by nature.
Well, stop that.
Yeah. Right? And again,
quit.
Especially if you're a believer, that is not your nature. If you're a follower of Jesus, that is not supposed to be.
The nature of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we've got a new nature, and
that's right.
You're a new creature, and you get somewhere you have to begin to trust and believe that. Now, again, you talked about our thinking, and I say it this way a lot of times in our teaching. I always tell people, I said, if God didn't intend or give us the ability to change our thinking, then He should not have told us to. Because in several passages, He tells us to set our mind or change our thinking, transform our mind. So again, we're just saying there's a place in your life that you give give God a chance, maybe,
Absolutely.
to do that. And we'll talk about some of that later on in some of this discussion. Maybe.
It's the huge things, it's the disappointments, the frustrations. Maybe you said it, the loss of trust. But, sometimes I know just in the day-to-day living, we can just get caught up on little, I don't know what to call it, just little like tidbits. Is that okay? Just little things that are not, it's not huge, but,
You're
it's
talking about
just
things in
enough.
our relationship.
Yeah, just stuff maybe that even happens around the house. Just simple things. Maybe it's, the wet towel on the floor.
Or molehills that turn to mountains.
Molehills?
Yeah, molehills.
Yeah, could be. Just that.
Little things that should be insignificant that turn
Right.
into huge deals, yeah.
Right, that just becomes a big something.
Yeah.
If, like I said, the wet towel on the floor, the cabinet door left open, the,
Her little remark.
Yeah, what she
Or
said.
her attitude.
The way she looked at me.
Yeah.
Even little things like that, I think that seems like a little thing, but we can get caught in those so that the way we think about our spouse and the way we think about our relationship just takes on that whole negative connotation.
Yeah, I think a lot of times couples have these expectations, and when they're not met, they become these little things, these little thorns in the flesh, kind of.
Yeah, that's
that just
it.
a little thing that just kind of irritates, and it rubs me wrong. And every time I hear it or see it, it just kind of rubs. It just re-irritates that spot, and I think that's kind of what you're talking about there. And again, I think that we've got to make sure that we guard against that we.
That's right.
Again, set our mind away from that stuff, that we try to change the channel, so to speak.
I think some people just we get in the habit even of looking for what is wrong, right?
Yeah, we do.
And if you look for what's wrong, what's going to happen?
You'll always find it.
You can always find something wrong.
If you look for what's right, you'll probably find it.
That's good.
But if you look for what's wrong, I guarantee you, it's easy to find what's wrong.
You're going to find it.
I've always said it doesn't take anything to find out. It doesn't take any effort for me to find out what's wrong. I mean, I can look at anybody and begin to pick them apart. I can begin.
I was about to say that it's not because there's so much wrong here, right?
No. No, I mean, you're talking about like our relationship. I could look at things and find things that are wrong with you if I want to. I mean, you're close to perfect.
Wrong with you, baby.
Baloney. Bull butter. I don't know all the words to say there, but again, there's plenty wrong, but there's plenty of things that can continue to get better. The things that I can continue to work on. But
Me
again,
too.
I don't want to spend all my energy. Again, with my wife, as perfect as she is, the thing is I could nitpick and I could find plenty wrong. I mean, right now you got a little speck on your sweater.
Do
on
I?
your,
Oh
it's
my
a sweatshirt,
goodness.
I think.
It's a sweatshirt.
Yeah, and I could really say, hey, why don't you check that before you come on and get that fixed before you get on camera.
We might have to re-record.
No, please, no. She's really particular about that little stuff. It's just a speck. It's just but again, I'm trying to make a point. It's just a little speck. But I'm just saying, if I want to, if I have that mindset, if I want to, I can really nitpick and point out all the things that are wrong, right?
Or you can choose, and I think that's important to know. I can choose what I want to set my mind on. We talked about that already, right?
Yep.
And so even if I see the speck, which I don't see one, but even if I see the speck, I can choose to look at all the area where there's not a speck. Right?
There's a lot of area here, right?
I was talking about myself. I'm just saying we can't nurture that negativity in our life.
Yeah,
all the
and
time.
marriage, again, I think marriage, a lot of times, I think couples get into that place, you called it a rut a minute ago, where all they do, again, is spend their time focusing on the things that are not right, things that we're lacking, things that we're not doing well in. And again, we're not saying in any way you shouldn't try to work on those somewhere. But if all of your energy's going to that,
That's so
if
true.
all of your attention's going to that, then, man, no wonder your marriage is a drag. No wonder romance is faded. No wonder, the intimate relationship suffers.
Yeah,
I keep hitting this thing on this table here. I think
you got to quit that. What I was going to say, those negative thoughts, if we nurture those all the time, if we're constantly criticizing, we're pessimistic, if that's our thought process all the time, all that negativity in our thoughts is going to show itself in our emotion and in our action. So, it may just be a thought, but that's what may be the root of my frustration and anger.
So here's the biggie
time.
in marriage. How do you think of each other? What do you think about when you think about your spouse? What are you thinking of? Mm-hmm. What are you talking about in your head? What are you talking to yourself about? Mm-hmm. Is it always about the things that they need to get right, or the things that aggravate you or frustrate you or irritate you?
That's right.
Those can be there. I'm not saying again that that you're just supposed to be the superhuman that never has any negative thoughts. But what I am saying is this: if that is all that you do,
right,
then again, no wonder
you're angry. No wonder you're frustrated.
Our purpose in doing these podcasts is to try to help homes and families to thrive and to be richer and deeper and again, in every aspect, in every part of your life. So we're just asking you to maybe consider that in this thought, in building your marriage, building your relationship. And again, I don't know what this is titled, but it's just a talk about, making sure our gears are set in the right direction.
We'll get a title out there.
Yeah, we'll get a title, but again, it's just making sure that we get things moving in the right direction.
That's right, and you said it, but maybe we need to ask ourselves these questions. Where's my thought life stuck? Mm-hmm. Am I stuck on his failure?
How do you think about me?
I think beautiful thoughts.
I think beautiful things. Yeah, again, really, I mean, that's an honest question.
No, it is, and.
How do you think about your spouse out there, you married folks? Look.
It begins first thing in the morning. Maybe there's, I know a lot of times first thing in the morning, if something goes wrong, then I know so many times, so many couples, and I've done the same thing. We get in that negative. It didn't start off right.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning. And so our mind is set upon that all day long. So even though we've been apart, 5, 7, 8, 10 hours during the day, come back in the evening.
You've been talking to yourself about it all day long.
You've been rehearsing it.
Yep.
You're not only was it a thought, now it's aggravation, now it's anger, now it's frustration, now it's I have no room for him at all this evening. And so during the day, all that stuff's been kind of smoldering.
Yeah.
And I mean, what kind of evening does that make?
I've done that one time.
It's tense. You did that one time? It's because I'm so perfect. You only had one opportunity.
Again, if you're going to have a thriving, loving, productive marriage, we're just saying, man, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he.
That's so good.
Most of you know the proverb there is, what you're thinking about, that's what you're becoming.
Yeah.
How you think about your marriage, about your spouse, that's what you're. Listen, all your relationships. I had somebody one time, I was asking him, I said, have you ever thought that this might be? He said, that's just the way I am. I said, well, that might be your problem. That might be the right problem with your marriage. That might be the reason your marriage stinks right now, is you think about it that way all the time. And because you've got this skeptical, negative kind of outlook, it's kind of your MO, it's kind of the
way you operate.
Again, you take it as your nature. You don't take on a new nature. It just kind of sticks you there. And you're left there, and marriage is dull.
That's right. Just circling back to where we started, that foundation.
Yeah.
How is that all connected? Well, our foundation, we've said it kind of through this, in Jesus Christ is, it's good, right?
Yeah.
He says, think on the good things. Build on the solid foundation, the good things of his word.
Yeah.
And that foundation, if we take that.
Yeah.
It's so.
I would even say that, man, and our whole deal with us is, again, we know what has happened in our relationship. It wasn't always perfect. Didn't start off great. But at the same time, we know what God has done in our relationship. And I know that as we've built life, we know what it is to have a relationship that is thriving and is good. And all we want is for everybody to be able to have the same.
And you can. Yeah, you can. I know these thoughts, sometimes it's hard to get past them, right?
Yeah, it is.
Then take that one out, take that negative out, and put a positive one in there, right?
She can aggravate me to death sometimes. She's done that before.
Me.
I do too, and your
Yeah,
tone
you
tells
do
me you do.
sometimes.
But at the same time,
You do. You
we're not
aggravate
gonna
the
we're
tar out of
gonna
me
we're not
sometimes.
gonna live our lives and build our marriage on that.
No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
We're out of time.
We gotta go.
And again, hope we didn't just fumble over all this. But again, let's come back to it. Is that good?
Sounds good.
Hey, we just want you to have a great marriage, great relationships.
That's right.
Because your home matters.
Yes, it does. See you next time.